Manchester United are approaching what could be one of the most important summer transfer windows in recent years, and club legend Rio Ferdinand has now shared what he believes is a realistic plan for the Red Devils. Instead of calling for a complete squad overhaul, Ferdinand thinks United should focus on 4 key signings, and one of the names he's strongly backed is Nottingham Forest midfielder Elliot Anderson. With Casemiro's future uncertain, Manuel Ugarte still not fully convincing everyone, and the midfield needing fresh energy, Ferdinand believes United needs smart recruitment rather than chaos. And honestly, a lot of fans will probably agree with him. This summer feels huge for Manchester United because it could define the next stage of the rebuild. The club has improved this season and currently sits in a strong position in the league, but everyone can still see that this squad is not fully complete. There are still gaps in key areas, and if United really want to compete at the highest level consistently, both in the Premier League and in Europe, then they need to get this transfer window right. That's why Rio Ferdinand's comments are interesting, because instead of demanding 7 or 8 new players, he's focusing on what is actually achievable and realistic. And that's exactly the kind of thinking United need. Rio Ferdinand says if Manchester United can bring in 4 players this summer, with 2 of them being guaranteed starters, then that should be considered a very successful transfer window. According to him, the main priority should be midfield. He wants United to sign 2 central midfielders, 1 ready-made starter and another younger option who can develop over time. On top of that, he wants another forward, ideally a younger player who can provide depth, and a full-back to strengthen the defensive options. When you actually break it down, it's a very sensible plan. It's not fantasy football, it's not a sign everyone strategy. It's targeted, balanced, and probably much closer to what the club can actually do. The midfield is clearly where Ferdinand believes the biggest work needs to be done. Casemiro's future continues to be a major talking point, and even if he stays, there's still a strong argument that United need more legs, more energy and more control in the middle of the pitch. Bruno Fernandes remains one of the leaders in the team, while Kobbie Mainoo is still one of the brightest young midfield talents in English football. But beyond that, there are still question marks. Can Ugarte become the dominant midfield at present United need? Can the current midfield unit consistently control games against the best sides? Rio's answer seems pretty clear: not yet, and that's why the club needs to act. One of the biggest talking points from Ferdinand's comments was his verdict on Elliot Anderson. The Nottingham Forest midfielder has been strongly linked with Manchester United, and Rio clearly likes what he sees. He described Anderson as not just the right type of player, but also the right type of character. That's an important detail, because United's recruitment in recent years hasn't always got that balance right. Talent alone isn't enough. The club needs players who can handle pressure, intensity, expectation, and the demands of wearing that shirt. Ferdinand seems to believe Anderson has those qualities, and that's a major endorsement. The reason Elliot Anderson is being talked about more and more is because he fits the modern midfield profile that top clubs want. He's energetic, aggressive, technically capable, and he covers ground well. Ferdinand specifically mentioned the need for someone who is all action, dynamic, robust, and capable of driving the team forward. That's exactly the sort of midfielder United have lacked at times, especially when games become physical or stretched. Anderson may not be the biggest glamour name on the market, but sometimes the smartest signings aren't the loudest ones. Sometimes they're the players who improve the balance of the entire team, and that might be exactly what United need. Ferdinand also referenced Carlos Baleba, who earlier in the season was one of the most talked about young midfielders in the Premier League. But according to Rio, Baleba has cooled off slightly in terms of form, and that has allowed Anderson to move ahead in the conversation. That doesn't necessarily mean Anderson is the better player long term, but it does show how quickly the market can shift. One strong run of form can completely change a player's reputation and value. For United, that means timing is important. If they genuinely believe Anderson is the right profile, they may need to move quickly before his price rises or other clubs enter the race. This is where the debate gets really interesting. Do Manchester United need another superstar name in midfield, or do they need a player who simply fits the system better? Ferdinand's comments suggest he's leaning toward the second option. Anderson may not instantly excite every fan in the same way a massive European name would, but if he brings intensity, balance and tactical discipline, he could end up being far more valuable over the course of a season. United have made too many signings in the past based on reputation rather than need. This time, the smarter move might be to sign players who actually solve football problems on the pitch. Another layer to this conversation is what it means for Michael Carrick. If Carrick is given the permanent job, then this transfer window becomes even more important because it would help define his version of Manchester United. Ferdinand suggested targets and priorities actually sound like the type of profile Carrick would probably want: athletic, intelligent, technically secure players who can play with structure and intensity. If United are serious about backing Carrick, then this is the kind of summer that could give him a real platform to build from, and if they get it right, the club could head into next season in a much stronger position than many expected. Some fans will still argue that United need more than 4 players, and honestly that's not an unreasonable view. There are still areas in the squad that could be improved, but Ferdinand's point is really about realism, financial limits, squad size, contract situations and profitability and sustainability rules. PSR concerns all matter. You can't rebuild everything in one window. What you can do is make sure the players you bring in are the right ones. If United sign one top-class midfielder, one high-potential midfielder, a useful forward and a reliable fullback that could actually go a very long way. It may not be flashy, but it could be effective. So Rio Ferdinand's message is pretty clear. Manchester United do not need a complete squad explosion this summer. They need smart, focused recruitment. 2 midfielders, 1 forward, 1 fullback, and potentially a serious look at Elliot Anderson as part of that midfield rebuild. The big question now is whether the club sees it the same way, because if United get this summer right, they could build real momentum going into next season, but if they get it wrong again, they risk wasting all the progress they've made. So what do you think? Would Elliot Anderson be a good signing for Manchester United, or should the club aim higher? Let me know in the comments below.